White heavy checkmark disclaimer: the following story is a fictionalized dramatization inspired by real-life paranormal claims made by celebrities. While some incidents are based on publicly known statements, interviews, or rumors, many of the details have been expanded or altered for suspenseful storytelling. This content is intended for mature audiences and should be viewed as entertainment rather than verified fact. Listener discretion is advised, especially for those sensitive to themes involving ghosts, spirits, or the supernatural. The bright lights of stardom often hide the darkest shadows. While we often imagine celebrities as insulated behind layers of luxury, security, and glamour, there are some things no amount of fame can protect you from, like the unexplainable. For every red carpet and sold-out concert, there are stories whispered behind closed doors, encounters that shake even the most composed stars to their core. Ghosts don't care about your bank balance. They don't knock before entering your life. And once they do, they rarely leave. In the world of the paranormal, we often hear stories from ordinary people. Late-night tales shared on forums, passed down by grandparents, or featured in documentaries. But what happens when the haunted isn't a faceless stranger, but a face we all recognize? Someone whose music we've danced to, whose films we've cried over, whose fame seems to make them untouchable. That's when the story changes. That's when it becomes terrifyingly real. This hour-long journey will plunge you deep into the chilling world of 3 real celebrity ghost encounters. Stories so disturbing they could change how you see your favorite stars forever. Each tale is more than just a spooky moment. They are layered with emotional turmoil, mysterious coincidences, and unresolved questions. What did they see? Who or what followed them home? And why do some of them refuse to ever speak about it again? We begin by stepping into the haunted footsteps of Lady Gaga, one of pop music's most eccentric and bold icons. Known for her creativity and spiritual openness, Gaga once found herself entangled in a presence that she believed was not just real, but attached to her. A name kept coming up, a spirit called Ryan, a presence so palpable it disrupted rehearsals and left crew members visibly shaken. What began as whispers in a theater soon turned into a terrifying experience that followed her across cities. She turned to spiritual healers, mediums, and psychic protectors. But could she ever truly shake it? Then we descend into a more intimate and subtle experience, one belonging to none other than Keanu Reeves. Known for his quiet demeanor and humble personality, Keanu rarely speaks about his personal life. But in a rare moment during an old interview, he described an eerie childhood experience involving a faceless entity appearing in his bedroom. It didn't speak. It didn't move. But it was there. And decades later, the look in his eyes as he recalled it told us everything. It never left his mind. Finally, we travel to one of the most notoriously haunted places in America, Stull Cemetery in Kansas. Here, pop star Ariana Grande decided to visit one night out of curiosity and thrill-seeking mischief. But what happened next made her speak publicly about demons, sulfur, and terrifying post-visit disturbances that haunted her dreams and even her hotel room. Photos disappeared. Growls echoed from empty spaces. Something had followed her, and she knew it wasn't friendly. This is not just a collection of ghost stories. It's a psychological deep dive into fear, fame, and the unknown. It explores the question, why do the haunted often remain silent? Is it because they fear being mocked, or because speaking the truth only gives the darkness more power? Whether you believe in spirits or not, one thing is certain, these stories will stay with you. And tonight, you'll hear them in full detail. Turn the lights down. Let the room go quiet. Because these 3 celebrity ghost encounters are more than just eerie tales, they're chilling reminders that even under the brightest spotlight, something can still lurk in the shadows. The rehearsal space was grand, an old London theater built in the 1800s, oozing with history and artistry. The velvet curtains had seen 1,000 performances, the chandelier above had lit up the faces of Victorian aristocrats, and the stage had echoed with the voices of long-dead performers. Lady Gaga, in preparation for an upcoming tour, had chosen this historic venue for a series of intensive rehearsals. It was perfect. Or so it seemed. From the moment she stepped onto the stage, something felt off. Not in the obvious sense. The lights worked fine. The sound systems were clear. The crew was focused. But Gaga, who was known for her deep spiritual sensitivity, couldn't shake a feeling, a pressure, almost like being watched. At first, she chalked it up to nerves or perhaps the lingering aura of the theater's past. But it wouldn't go away. Then came the name. Ryan. She mentioned it offhandedly at first, to a backup dancer, then to her assistant. "I feel like someone named Ryan is here," she said. "Watching us." Everyone chuckled nervously, but Gaga wasn't joking. The name kept popping into her head like a whisper. Not a memory. Not a thought. A presence. She didn't know anyone named Ryan, but someone wanted her to. Days passed and the atmosphere grew heavier. Stage props began to move slightly out of place. A costume rack toppled over without explanation. One of the dancers claimed he saw a figure in the rafters only to find no one there. Another swore she heard humming an old-timey melody, soft and sad, that came from behind the curtain when no one was backstage. Gaga herself began experiencing vivid dreams during this time. In them, she was back in the theater, but it was empty. Cold. Dusty. She'd walk through the rows of decaying seats only to find a single man standing center stage. Pale. Expressionless. Wearing old-fashioned clothes. "Ryan," he would whisper. And then she'd wake up, gasping, her heart pounding, the dream clinging to her like cobwebs. Disturbed but unwilling to cancel rehearsals, she reached out to a spiritual advisor, someone she had worked with before when she felt energetically vulnerable. The advisor confirmed something was attached to the space and possibly to Gaga herself. He recommended spiritual cleansing rituals, grounding stones, and protective mantras. Gaga, who'd always embraced the mystical, followed the advice religiously. But the encounters didn't stop. In fact, they escalated. One night, the crew was locking up when the power suddenly cut. Total blackout. Phones wouldn't turn on. For a full 2 minutes, they stood frozen in the pitch dark. Then, as suddenly as it had gone out, the lights returned. In the silence that followed, someone gasped. Written in the dust on a backstage mirror, letters so faint you'd miss them unless the light hit just right, was a single word: Ryan. That was the final straw. Gaga halted rehearsals and moved locations. She didn't return to that theater again. Later, in interviews, she casually mentioned her belief in the spirit world. She spoke cryptically of feeling haunted during that time, though she never named the place or fully recounted the experience. But fans connected the dots. Crew members who were there whispered about it long after the tour was over. Some even refused to work with her in old buildings after that, citing the incident as too real to ignore. What made it particularly chilling wasn't just the ghostly signs. It was how personal it all felt. This wasn't a random haunting. It seemed targeted. The name, the dreams, the mirror. It was as though the spirit wanted Gaga to remember him, to acknowledge him, maybe even to speak for him. But what did Ryan want? Was he a performer who had died tragically on that very stage? A forgotten soul who latched onto her energy? Or something darker, an entity pretending to be someone else? We'll never know for sure. Gaga has moved on. But those who were there still talk about that strange, haunted time. And somewhere, maybe still wandering the wings of that ancient theater, a spirit waits in silence, hoping for the lights to come up one more time. Long before he became an international star, before Neo dodged bullets or John Wick sought vengeance, Keanu Reeves was just a quiet, introspective child living with his family in Toronto. He wasn't the type of kid who made up stories or sought attention. Keanu was observant, calm, and unusually mature for his age. But one experience from his childhood would stick with him forever, an eerie, silent encounter that still haunts him to this day. It was a warm evening, sometime in the early 1970s. Keanu was around 6 or 7 years old, living in a small apartment with his mother and nanny. The night had been ordinary: dinner, a bit of television, then bedtime. But as the world outside the apartment settled into sleep, something inside shifted. Something unseen had entered. Keanu was lying in bed, half awake, the dim hallway light casting long shadows on his bedroom wall. The room was quiet, too quiet. Even as a child, he could feel it, a strange, heavy stillness like the air had thickened. That's when he saw it. A figure. Standing in the doorway. At first, he thought it was his nanny. But there was no movement. No sound. And as his eyes adjusted, he saw that the figure was wrong. It had no face. No features. Just the outline of a tall, human-shaped presence cloaked in darkness, watching him. He froze. His small body stiffened beneath the covers. He couldn't scream, couldn't speak. The fear was so intense it paralyzed him. The figure didn't move forward. It didn't breathe. It just stood there. Silent. Staring. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, it turned. It didn't walk, it glided, smoothly and eerily, out of the room and down the hallway. Keanu sat up, heart pounding in his chest, adrenaline surging through his veins. For a few long seconds, he just stared at the empty doorway, unsure if what he saw was real. But he wasn't alone. From the other room, his nanny screamed. She ran into his bedroom, pale and shaking. She asked him if he saw it too. And when he nodded, she pulled him into her arms and began praying. She didn't try to explain it. She didn't pretend it didn't happen. Whatever it was, they both saw it. And they both knew it wasn't human. The next day, his nanny quietly packed her things and left. Years later, Keanu would briefly mention the incident in an interview. It was a rare moment of vulnerability from a man who usually kept his private life guarded. He didn't elaborate much, just that he saw a ghost as a child and that his nanny had witnessed it too. But those who listened closely could hear the truth in his voice. The story wasn't for publicity. It was something deeply personal. Something unresolved. And that wasn't the only strange thing to happen in Keanu's life. Friends and crew members from various film sets have described him as someone who draws strange energy. Cameras malfunctioning for no reason. Cold spots during night shoots. Lights flickering in his presence. Some of them joke about it. Others, more quietly, believe there's something about him. Something otherworldly that follows him. One theory among fans is that Keanu has a sensitive soul, and spirits are naturally drawn to people like him. They say he carries a calmness, an openness, almost like a lighthouse in the dark. Whether that's true or not, Keanu has never embraced the paranormal world. He hasn't hired psychics or ghost hunters. He hasn't tried to cleanse himself of the experience. Instead, he's carried it silently, like a memory that never quite fades. But that silent visitor, the faceless figure, has become a permanent part of his story. Was it a ghost? A shadow person? A figment of childhood imagination? The fact that his nanny saw it too suggests otherwise. To this day, no one knows exactly what entered their apartment that night. It didn't hurt them. It didn't speak. But it left an impression so deep that Keanu, even after decades and countless roles, still remembers that moment vividly. Maybe some ghosts don't haunt places. Maybe they haunt people. At the height of her fame, Ariana Grande was known for her powerhouse vocals, her high ponytail, and her sweet yet bold personality. But behind the glittering lights of her pop stardom, there's one incident she rarely talks about, a night that terrified her so deeply it left her convinced that she had come face to face with something truly evil. It all began with a spontaneous decision. Ariana, like many curious young celebrities, had an interest in the paranormal. One evening while on tour in Kansas, she and a few close friends decided to visit one of the most infamous cemeteries in the United States, Stull Cemetery. Located in a small town just outside of Topeka, this seemingly quiet graveyard has earned a chilling reputation as one of the 7 gateways to hell. Urban legends swirl around its crumbling tombstones. Tales of demonic apparitions, time distortions, and even rumors that Satan himself appears there twice a year. Ariana knew the risks, but curiosity got the best of her. She and her friends arrived late at night, cloaked in darkness, the cemetery bathed in shadows and moonlight. From the moment they stepped out of the car, the air felt wrong, heavy, suffocating. There was a strange stillness to the place. No wind, no rustling trees, no insects, just silence. Ariana later described the atmosphere as thick, like walking through invisible smoke. As they explored the graveyard, the group began snapping photos and whispering nervously. That's when the first sign came, the sulfur smell. Strong and unmistakable, it filled the air suddenly, burnt, bitter, and unnatural. Anyone familiar with demonology knows that sulfur is often associated with negative, malevolent forces. Ariana and her friends looked at each other, unease growing. Still, they pushed deeper into the cemetery. Near a crumbling, sealed-off church ruin, Ariana said she began to feel an intense, targeted pressure, like something was focusing on her. She couldn't breathe. She clutched her chest and told her friends they needed to leave. Back in the car, the feeling didn't go away. They drove off quickly, adrenaline high, hearts racing. But something followed them. Later that night, Ariana checked the photos she had taken on her phone. Most of them were blurry or completely blacked out. Unusual, considering her phone had been functioning fine. But one picture chilled her to her core. A black figure standing at the far end of the cemetery, facing her directly. It was tall, featureless, and surrounded by mist. She hadn't seen anyone there at the time, not in person. She deleted the photo immediately. But the horror didn't end there. That same night, back in her hotel room, Ariana said she started hearing growling. Low, guttural, and angry. At first, she thought it might be the pipes or the air conditioning. But the sound grew louder, more deliberate. Came from the corner of the room, where the light didn't reach. And then, scratching, like long fingernails raking across the walls, slow and relentless. She didn't sleep. In the days that followed, Ariana began feeling watched. She described waking up at exactly 3 a.m., the so-called devil's hour, with the feeling of someone standing by her bed. At one point, she claimed she saw a shadow dart across her bathroom mirror and vanish. No one else was there. Frightened and unsure what to do, she contacted a spiritual advisor. She was told that by entering a location like Stull Cemetery, especially with a camera and high emotional energy, she may have invited something back with her. It could have been a demon, or a spirit, or something darker, ancient, and unidentifiable. Ariana was instructed to burn sage, carry protective crystals, and recite certain prayers. Eventually, the experiences faded, but she never returned to a cemetery again. In interviews, Ariana has mentioned the event vaguely, confirming that she believes in spirits and knows what she saw. She didn't name the cemetery in most interviews, but fans pieced it together. The timeline, the location, the sulfur, the black figure, it all pointed to Stull. What makes her story even more terrifying is that she was never looking for trouble. She wasn't mocking spirits. She wasn't doing a ritual. She just wanted to see what was out there. And what she found might still be watching. In a world where science reigns supreme and rationality governs public discourse, tales of ghostly encounters are often dismissed as superstition or psychological delusion. But what happens when individuals known for their logic, control, and public image come forward with chilling accounts of the supernatural? What happens when celebrities, people who have everything to lose, admit they've seen or felt something that defies explanation? The stories of Lady Gaga, Keanu Reeves, and Ariana Grande are not isolated events. In fact, they are part of a much larger and more disturbing pattern, the unseen cost of curiosity in the realm of the paranormal. These stars didn't go looking for fame when they spoke about their experiences. In most cases, they hesitated to share them at all. The reason is simple: talking about ghosts, demons, or hauntings can make you look unstable in the public eye. But still, they told their stories. And for those who listen closely, a chilling thread begins to connect them. Curiosity is often the spark. Ariana wanted to explore a place drenched in dark legend. Gaga leaned into her creative rituals and openness to energy. Keanu, as a child, was merely an innocent observer in a world far beyond his comprehension. In each case, a door was opened, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. But once opened, that door didn't close so easily. Spiritual experts and paranormal researchers have long warned about this. Curiosity is not harmless when it comes to the unknown. It's not like browsing a dusty history book or watching a horror film. When you enter a space believed to be haunted, or when you speak the names of spirits, or even when you simply open your heart to believing, it acts like a signal flare. Whether it's ghosts of the dead, remnants of trauma, or malevolent entities, something may take notice. Some say spirits are drawn to energy, particularly intense energy like fear, fame, grief, or even admiration. Celebrities, by nature, are emotional beacons. They are surrounded by constant attention, intense emotions, and often stress or personal trauma. All of these, according to spiritual theory, create a magnetic pull for the unseen. So when a celebrity enters a haunted space or talks to a spirit, the reaction may be stronger than it would be for an average person. But it's not just about ghosts. There's also the question of attachment. Many paranormal investigators speak of attachments as entities that follow a person home after an encounter, like in Ariana's case. These attachments may start with subtle disturbances, strange dreams, shadows in the corner of the eye, electronics malfunctioning. But sometimes they escalate. Sleep paralysis, night terrors, psychological unease, isolation. The worst cases are so intense, exorcisms are sought. For celebrities, this can be even more complicated. They're often on the road, sleeping in different hotel rooms every night, staying in older buildings or historic locations with deep pasts. Many of them don't even realize they're staying in places known for hauntings until it's too late. But the cost doesn't end with fear or nightmares. Sometimes it seeps into their careers, their relationships, their mental health. A haunting may not physically harm them, but the emotional erosion it causes can. Anxiety, fatigue, withdrawn behavior. People close to them often notice a change but can't explain it. Because who would believe them? This is why so many celebrities keep quiet. It's not just about the ridicule from the public or headlines in tabloids. It's about the invalidation, the fear that even friends, managers, or loved ones might call them crazy. So they stay silent. They light their candles. They say their prayers. And they move on, hoping the thing that found them loses interest. But here's the frightening truth: some don't move on. Some celebrities, after a major paranormal event, disappear from public life without explanation. They retreat into privacy. They cancel tours. They delay projects. We often blame it on creative breaks or mental health, but sometimes the silence hides something far stranger. The cost of curiosity in the paranormal isn't always immediate. It creeps. It lingers. And for those who dare to look behind the veil even once, the consequences can follow for years. So the next time you hear someone laugh off a ghost story or mock a celebrity for losing it, remember this: maybe they didn't seek out the supernatural. Maybe the supernatural sought them. When most people think of celebrities, they imagine lavish lifestyles, luxury homes, bodyguards, and stylists, every possible form of protection against the physical world. But what about protection from the unseen? What defenses do the rich and famous turn to when their nightmares follow them into waking life, when their homes no longer feel safe, and when mirrors, shadows, or silence seem to whisper back? For some, the answer lies in an ancient, lesser-known realm of spiritual defense: psychic shielding. While many celebrities stay silent about their paranormal beliefs, a surprising number have quietly embraced rituals, charms, and energy practices to ward off supernatural forces. They don't always call it possession. Sometimes it's described as bad energy, dark vibrations, or a heavy presence. But no matter the words, the fear is real. After Ariana Grande's terrifying experience at Stull Cemetery, sources close to her revealed she began carrying black tourmaline and amethyst crystals, both believed to protect against evil spirits and negative energy. She was also said to have consulted a spiritual medium who advised her to burn sage regularly and chant protective mantras before going to sleep. Whether superstition or not, she did everything she could to seal the gateway she had unknowingly opened. Lady Gaga, too, has been open about her spiritual routines. During tours, she often brings a team of spiritual advisors and healers with her. It's been rumored that she once paid over $50,000 for a full spiritual cleansing of her concert venues before performances. She reportedly uses a mixture of incense, sound vibrations, salt lines, and energy healing to ensure the space is free of any lingering entities. To outsiders, it may seem excessive. To those who've felt what she's felt, it's just necessary. But not all protection works the same way. In more extreme cases, some celebrities have reportedly undergone exorcisms or cleansing ceremonies rooted in religious traditions. One unnamed actor, according to a leaked account from a private spiritualist, was flown to a remote location in Europe to receive a full Catholic exorcism after claiming he was being drained by a spirit attached to a past film set. His symptoms included insomnia, hearing voices, unexplained scratches on his back, and sudden fits of rage. Publicly, he called it exhaustion. There are also those who wear symbols of protection, often hidden in plain sight. Tiny crosses under shirts. I have Horus pendants. Tattooed sigils or Hebrew letters across their ribs. These aren't just fashion statements. For many, they're armor against a world few dare to admit exists. Some use chanting, some meditate, and others invoke ancient names or call upon ancestors for guidance. What's important to understand is that not all paranormal experiences end in terror. Some are manageable if you know how to protect yourself. That's where psychic shields come in. Unlike physical barriers, psychic shields are energetic. They're created through intention, belief, and ritual. Those who practice shielding often visualize a glowing orb around their bodies, imagine mirrors reflecting back harmful energy, or recite affirmations designed to fortify their spiritual core. But for shielding to work, one must first believe in the power of intention. This belief itself becomes part of the armor. And for celebrities, whose lives are public, vulnerable, and exposed to millions, the need to spiritually seal themselves becomes more than just metaphysical curiosity. It's self-preservation. Of course, not all ghostly contacts are malicious. Some are just residual energy, echoes from the past. Others may be neutral or even protective. But it's the unknown that truly terrifies. What kind of spirit is watching you? What does it want? That's where fear breeds, and where protection becomes crucial. There are stories, quiet ones, rarely shared, about celebrities who ignored the warning signs. Lights flickering, odd dreams, personality changes. They laughed it off, until it went too far, until they felt something inside them. Possession is a loaded word, often associated with horror films and Catholic lore. But spiritual possession doesn't always involve spinning heads or foreign tongues. Sometimes it's a gradual loss of self, a shadow slipping in and refusing to leave. This is why some celebrities now travel with personal spiritual guides, people who monitor the energy around them. One famous pop star allegedly employs a full-time energy reader who scans every venue, hotel room, and dressing area before the artist enters. It sounds absurd until you hear the stories. So next time you hear that a celebrity canceled a show due to exhaustion or emotional strain, ask yourself, could there be more to it? Because in a world obsessed with the visible, it's often the invisible that haunts us most. There's an old saying in the world of paranormal investigation, when you stare into the abyss stares back. This phrase, once poetic, becomes terrifyingly literal when applied to the real-life ghost stories of the rich and famous. As we've seen, curiosity, especially when paired with fame, can be a dangerous invitation to forces beyond our understanding. And perhaps the most unsettling truth of all is this: the paranormal never sleeps. Unlike a horror movie that ends when the credits roll, real hauntings often linger long after the cameras are off. Celebrities may leave a location, move homes, or return to their daily routines, but the effects of a supernatural encounter don't just vanish. Many paranormal experts agree, when an entity decides to follow you, no stage, spotlight, or luxury suite can protect you. And fame? Fame might just amplify the problem. Some believe that the attention and energy surrounding celebrities actually make them magnets for spiritual phenomena. Think about it. Fans scream their names, entire arenas chant in unison, millions follow their every move. That kind of emotional energy is rare and powerful. Spirits, especially those that crave recognition or unfinished attention, could be naturally drawn to it. Imagine being a ghost in an abandoned theater. For decades, you're forgotten. Your name, your voice, your story. Then suddenly, a pop icon walks in with cameras, dancers, lights, and the kind of energy you haven't felt in 100 years. Of course, you'd want to make yourself known. Maybe even hitch a ride. That idea that spirits choose celebrities to latch onto is more than theory in spiritual circles. Mediums and occult scholars have often warned that ghosts are not limited to places. Some wander, some attach, some feed. This is why, in recent years, there's been a quiet rise in celebrity silence about paranormal experiences. Not because the hauntings have stopped, but because the consequences of speaking up are too great. For every Ariana or Gaga who dares to share a glimpse, there are dozens who refuse to say a word. They've seen too much, they've felt too much, and they know deep down that talking about it could invite even more attention from the other side. There are rumors of A-listers whose lives took dark turns after dabbling in occult practices or visiting haunted places for fun. One famous director reportedly became reclusive after filming at a historic battlefield site. A beloved actress, known for romantic comedies, quietly underwent spiritual counseling after claiming a presence had entered her Los Angeles home and wouldn't leave. These stories never reach tabloids, not because they're false, but because they're too real. The fear isn't losing credibility, it's making the spirit stronger by acknowledging it. Then there's the matter of dreams, or what seems like dreams. Many celebrities have described eerily vivid night visions after their encounters. Not just nightmares, but recurring visits from figures, feelings of suffocation, or hearing their name whispered just before waking. Some report strange electrical interference around them. Others talk about losing track of time or blacking out during key moments, only to remember nothing afterward. And it's not limited to a certain age or belief system. Whether it's young stars exploring old legends or older performers feeling the weight of their pasts, the paranormal doesn't discriminate. It knocks softly at first, then louder, until the person has no choice but to notice. So what's the warning here? Don't go looking if you're not ready. Don't explore haunted places just for content. Don't joke about demons. Don't challenge the unknown for attention. Because sometimes, something answers back. We, the audience, are fascinated by haunted tales. We listen with the lights off, hearts racing, chills down our spines. But for the celebrities who live through them, it's not a thrill. It's a scar. An invisible mark left by something they didn't fully understand and still can't explain. The paranormal never sleeps. It doesn't clock out. It doesn't care about privacy, followers, or net worth. It watches. It waits. And if you ever step too close to its realm, just remember, curiosity might open the door, but it won't always let you close it again. Beneath the glitz of red carpets and flashing cameras lies a truth most fans will never see. The people we idolize are just as vulnerable as we are, especially when it comes to the unknown. Fame does not shield the soul from fear, nor does wealth guard against the strange forces that drift quietly through the veil between worlds. In fact, as we've discovered through these chilling encounters, celebrities might even be more exposed. And more often than not, the spotlight becomes a stage for something darker to step into view. Lady Gaga, Keanu Reeves, and Ariana Grande each encountered forces that pushed them beyond reason. Some subtle, some direct, all unforgettable. But what unites their experiences is not just fear, it's silence. They spoke carefully, cautiously, sometimes cryptically. And behind their few public words rests a simple, frightening idea: some hauntings go deeper than a single moment. Some never leave. In Gaga's case, what began as an artistic journey into a historic venue became a lingering experience marked by a spiritual presence that refused to be ignored. For Keanu, an innocent night from his childhood carved a memory into his psyche that even time and fame could not erase. And Ariana, who only wanted a thrill, found herself face to face with something so sinister it left a psychic fingerprint on her life. They are not just ghost stories, they are traumas retold through whispers and caution. And if this can happen to the stars, to the people surrounded by teams, advisors, and protections, what about the rest of us? The answer isn't meant to frighten, but to warn. There is a deep and ancient truth woven through every culture, every religion, every superstition. Not all things can be explained. Some doors were meant to stay closed. Some names are not meant to be spoken aloud. And the act of looking, of seeking, of challenging the unknown, whether out of thrill, belief, or doubt, can be an invitation written in invisible ink. This doesn't mean we should live in fear, but it does mean we should live in respect for energies we don't understand, places steeped in forgotten pain, and histories etched into the walls we now casually pass through. Old theaters, cemeteries, and sacred ruins are not just backdrops. They are vessels. And sometimes they are full. Behind the camera lenses and streaming playlists, behind the sold-out arenas and movie premieres, there are people who've seen something, felt something, or lost sleep over something they can't explain. They may never tell their full stories. They may never go public. But in private moments, under their breath, when the room is dark and the silence too deep, they remember. And that brings us here to you. You who have listened to these stories, who may feel a chill now that wasn't there before. Maybe it's just the storytelling. Or maybe something deeper stirs when these truths are spoken aloud. The unseen listens too. So what should you take from this? First, believe your instincts. If a place feels wrong, leave. If a shadow lingers longer than it should, don't investigate. Protect your space, your thoughts, and your emotions. Fear can attract, but so can arrogance. Always enter spiritual territory with humility. Second, understand that not every haunting is about horror. Some spirits simply want acknowledgement. Others seek resolution. But the danger comes when we treat the paranormal like entertainment, when we forget that something on the other side might be watching, waiting. And lastly, know that you are not alone. Whether you're a global icon or someone sitting alone in a quiet room, the line between this world and the next is thinner than we think. The stars may have fame, but in the dark, when the air grows still and the whispers begin, they are just like the rest of us, human, vulnerable, and deeply haunted. So tonight, as you turn off the lights, remember, these 3 terrifying celebrity ghost encounters were more than just stories. They were warnings. Echoes. And if you hear a faint knock, if you dream of someone calling your name, if a cold wind brushes past your ear when the windows are closed, don't ask who it is. Because if you ask, it might just answer 66.